All right, let's talk about a feeling that I think way too many of us know. It's that feeling of being broke, even when you know you're making pretty decent money. Today, we're going to get into the blueprint that can fix this and turn that financial stress into some serious financial clarity.
Sound familiar? You get your paycheck, you pay the rent, you pay some bills, you live a little, and then boom. You look at your bank account and there's still a week left in the month and you're just left wondering, where did it all go? It's like it just vanished into thin air. Okay, let's get right to the heart of this, because this is the single most important idea we're going to talk about today. What the research shows us is that this feeling of being broke, it's almost never about the actual number on your paycheck. It's about your money not having a plan, no direction, no structure at all.
So, to build that structure, we first have to totally reframe what a budget even is. For most of us, that word alone just kind of brings on a little bit of anxiety, right? Let's fix that right now.
First things first, we've got to tear down this myth. A budget is not about punishing yourself. It's not about restriction or sacrifice or telling yourself no to every little thing that brings you joy. Honestly, that's just a recipe for failure.
So instead of punishment, I want you to think of a budget as clarity. That's it. A budget is just a tool that shines a light on where your money is actually going. It's like flipping on the lights in a dark room. All of a sudden, you can see everything. And that clarity, well, that's where control comes from.
And this right here is the perfect metaphor. A budget is a map. It gives every single dollar you earn a job a destination. It tells your money where to go so you can stop wasting all your energy wondering where it went. It frees you up from all that panic and guilt.
Think about it like this. Without any rules, your money just acts like water poured onto a flat surface. It just spreads out, gets into every little crack, and then it's gone. It evaporates. So our job today isn't to get more water. It's to build the container that can actually hold it and direct it where we want it to go. So how do we build this container? We're going to use a tool that is incredibly simple but unbelievably powerful. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. This is the blueprint. Just 3 categories, 0 confusion. And what I love about this is just how simple it is, because it really is this simple. All of your after-tax income gets split into just 3 buckets. That's it. 50% for your needs, 30% for your wants, and a really crucial 20% for your financial growth.
Let's break that down a little bit more. Your needs, that's the 50% chunk, that covers your absolute survival essentials. We're talking rent or mortgage, groceries, getting to work, utilities, the stuff you absolutely have to pay. Then you've got wants at 30%. This is the fun stuff. Dining out, movies, shopping, hobbies, travel. And finally, that super powerful 20% for financial growth. This is for your future self. Savings, investments, and knocking down debt. This is the part that actually builds your wealth.
Okay, for this entire 50-30-20 thing to work, you have to be brutally honest about one key distinction. And I mean brutally honest. This is where most people get tripped up.
Just look at this. A need is for survival. A want is for enjoyment. The problem is, we are experts at lying to ourselves. We disguise our wants as needs. That fancy coffee you get every morning? It's a want. The newest phone when your old one works just fine? Total want. Being honest with yourself about what goes in each column, that is the entire game.
And that really is the key takeaway here. The second you can look at a potential purchase, and correctly and honestly label it as a want instead of a need, you've just gained control. That single moment of clarity is the starting line for building real, actual wealth. It's where everything changes. So, why does a dead simple framework like this work so much better than some crazy complicated spreadsheet with 100 different categories? Well, the answer is all in our psychology. You know, our brains are basically wired to find the path of least resistance. They love shortcuts. When a budget is too detailed, tracking every single penny just becomes a massive chore. It creates friction, it's exhausting, and eventually, we just give up. The 50-30-20 rule works because it's simple enough to actually stick with. And this shows you the mental shift that starts to happen almost automatically. You're standing in a store, or maybe you're scrolling online late at night, you see something you want to buy. Instead of that impulsive, emotional reaction, your brain now follows this simple little process. You see it, you instantly categorize it. Is this a need, a want, or is it for my growth? And just like that, your spending becomes a conscious choice, not just an unconscious habit.
So, there you have it. That's the blueprint. You've got the container to hold your money and the map to direct it. All that chaos can finally become clarity. The only question left, and it's the most important one, is now that your money has a plan, what are you going to build with it?
All right, welcome back to the Budgeting Blueprint. So, in our last explainer, we built the strategy, right? We talked all about the 50-30-20 rule, which gives you that big picture map for your money. But, a map is one thing. Actually navigating the terrain day to day is something else entirely. I mean, what good is a plan if you still feel like you're losing? Today, we're building the second, and honestly, the most important part, the enforcement tool. This is the system that puts you, finally, in the driver's seat. You know the feeling. You get your paycheck, you pay the rent, you handle the big bills, and then, well, life happens. It's a coffee here, a little online shopping there, a dinner out with some friends, and before you know it, you're looking at the calendar, it's the 20th of the month, you peek at your bank account, and that awful, sinking feeling hits you. Where did it all go? It seriously feels like your money just evaporates into thin air. But what if I told you there's a way to solve this mystery for good? Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the money mystery and figure out why having a budget just isn't enough. Then I'm going to introduce you to your new best friend, the enforcement tool. After that, we'll see how strategy and discipline come together, we'll walk through a real-life example, and finally, I'll give you a super simple ritual to make this a habit that sticks. All right, let's get right into it. Let's define the problem that we're all here to solve, the classic mystery of the vanishing money. So here's the fundamental problem, right? On one hand, you've got your plan, that beautiful spreadsheet, those perfectly calculated 50-30-20 numbers. Your intention is crystal clear. But on the other hand, you've got real life, the siren song of the coffee shop, that flash sale that feels too good to pass up. A plan on a piece of paper has literally never stopped anyone from tapping their card. What's missing is the bridge that connects your good intentions to your actual daily actions. So what is this missing piece? Well, it's not some crazy complicated app, and you don't need to hire a financial advisor. It's a simple, powerful, and totally time-tested idea that basically acts as your own personal financial sergeant-at-arms. It's called the envelope method, and think of it as your discipline multiplier. Now, the original concept was super literal. You take your cash and physically put it into envelopes labeled groceries, gas, fun money. Once that fun envelope was empty, well, the fun that cost money was over for the month. Simple, right? But here's the key for us today. You don't need physical cash. You can do the exact same thing with separate bank accounts or even features inside your banking app to create digital envelopes. So how does it actually work? Well, it's just 3 easy steps. First, you pick your categories. Your spending weak spots. Groceries, transportation, entertainment, maybe clothes. Second, you assign a budget to each of those, pulling the numbers straight from your 50-30-20 plan. And third, and this is the most important part, you stop spending when an envelope is empty. Period. No borrowing from the grocery money to buy a new video game. The limit is the limit. And this is where the magic really kicks in, because it forces a huge mental shift. It forces awareness, because you can literally see your eating out money disappearing with every single purchase. It builds real discipline, because the system has a hard stop, a clear, non-negotiable boundary. It gives you control over emotional spending. You start to realize that an impulse buy today is directly stealing from something else you want later in the month. And the best part? It creates predictability. You stop asking where your money went because you are now deciding way in advance exactly where it will go. Okay, so this is how we connect the dots. We've got our 50-30-20 strategy. We've got our envelope enforcement tool. Now we put them together. This is where strategy meets discipline. And trust me, this is where things get really good. Remember that big 30% bucket for wants? It's a great starting point, but it's just too vague, isn't it? It's basically an open invitation for mindless spending. The envelope method takes that big number and gives every single dollar a job. So if 30% of your income is, say, $600, you now get to decide how to slice it up. Maybe it's $200 for restaurants, $100 for your hobbies, $150 for clothes, and another $150 for entertainment. All of a sudden, you have these clear, actionable targets for the kind of spending that usually gets us into trouble. And this brings up a really critical mindset shift. See, a traditional budget can feel like a restriction, right? It feels like someone's just telling you, no, you can't have that. And that just creates resentment. But the envelope method, that creates boundaries. And boundaries are something you choose. You're intentionally saying, hey, I'm choosing to spend $200 on going out this month, and that gives me the freedom to spend it without any guilt, and it also frees me up to fund my other goals. It's the difference between a prison and a playground with a fence. One just limits you, but the other lets you play freely and safely inside. Now, theory is all well and good, but the proof is in the results, right? So let's look at a real-world case study of someone who went from feeling totally broke all the time to being completely in control of their money. Let's meet Jordan. Jordan makes $2,000 a month after taxes, a decent income. But every single month, it was the exact same story. That feeling of panic sets in around the 25th, wondering how the money disappeared again. It was a huge source of stress. So Jordan's first move was to apply the strategy, and we can see it right here. That $2,000 was split up. $1,000 for needs, like rent and bills, $600 for wants, and a pretty solid $400 dedicated to financial growth, things like saving and paying down debt. This created that big picture plan. But this next slide, this is where the real change happened. Jordan took that big, vague wants bucket and gave every dollar a specific mission. You can see it in the table. The money was split up, $150 for eating out, $100 for entertainment, and so on. This created these visible, tangible limits. Now, when thinking about going out for dinner a third time in 1 week, Jordan could literally picture that $150 envelope getting empty. The decision became real and concrete, not just some abstract idea. And the results? They were incredible. In just 3 months, just 90 days of using this system, Jordan started an emergency fund for the very first time. That $400 for financial growth was actually going where it was supposed to go, chipping away at credit card debt. And maybe most importantly, that mid-month panic was just gone. It was replaced by this feeling of calm and control. That's the power of moving from a vague idea to a rock-solid system. Okay, now this isn't a set it and forget it kind of thing. Life changes, right? Your income might go up, your expenses might shift. So your budget needs to be this living, breathing thing that evolves with you. And that brings us to our final crucial piece of the puzzle, the monthly money reset. At the end of every month, you're going to do this super simple 10-minute ritual. First, just be honest. Where did you overspend? This isn't about feeling guilty, it's just collecting data. Second, where did you have money left over? Maybe you didn't drive as much this month. Third, adjust for next month. Maybe that grocery envelope needs another $50 and you can pull that from your transportation money. And fourth, this is the most powerful step. Anytime you find extra money or get a raise, your very first thought should be, how can I increase my financial growth envelope? That is how you put your goals on the fast track. See? By following this whole process, strategy, enforcement, and then refinement, you completely change your relationship with money. It stops being this mysterious, stressful thing that happens to you, and it becomes what it's supposed to be, a tool, a system that you designed, that you control, and that is working for your success. And that really gets to the heart of all this. This whole thing isn't about depriving yourself or counting every single penny. It's the complete opposite. It's about deciding what's actually important to you, and then building a system that makes it easy to spend on those things and even easier to save for your future. It's about living intentionally. So as we wrap this up, the choice is really that simple. You can continue on with the stress and the mystery and let your money manage you, or you can use this blueprint and turn your money into a predictable, powerful engine that builds the life you actually want, stress or success. The power is completely in your hands. The choice is yours.